Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. So very glad that you are with us, and I'm very glad to have with me a friend and colleague for many years, JJ Buquet. JJ, welcome to the program, my friend.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And so there's some things kind of happening that have been kind of building up for some time.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about Buquet Distributing. You guys have been such a staple in our community for so long. Let's talk a little bit about the history.
Yeah. 69 years. It'll be 69 years this year. So my dad came out of the Korean War and was helping turn pipe, I think, for Patterson Oil Tool. Mm-hmm. And he had a cousin of his, cousin Charlie Boudreaux, who was running the route down here in Terrebonne-Lafourche, St. Mary Parish. He worked for a guy named Howard Carter out of Baton Rouge. Okay. So the Baton Rouge operation in 1953 had this territory.
Right.
And Cousin Charlie was running the route, and over Sunday one day he told my dad, he said, "Brother, I'm going to be losing my job, so if they have anything over there at Patterson, let me know." He said, "Well, you're losing your job. What's going on?" He said, "Well, the owner had a heart attack, and they're talking about freeing up this territory, and whoever buys it, it's a one-man job, and I'm not. Whoever buys it won't be able to keep me." He said, "Well, who do I talk to about that?" So long story short, Dad was, I don't know, there were 7, 8 different people that had interviewed. Nobody wanted it. Mm-hmm. And so my grandfather, his father, went down to the Terrebonne Bank. It was Mr. Funderburk, and a one-page documented loan, a handshake, borrowed $5,000 and went into business as an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler in November of 1953.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then subsequently, the Mockler family of Baton Rouge and New Orleans, who's buying us today, they acquired the Baton Rouge operation from Howard Carter. Ah. And then my father and Mr. Gary became very, very close dear friends. Gary Mockler was the owner, was the buyer back then in 1987. Mr. Gary Mockler bought it. And he had sons, and of course Dad had me, and the sons and I became very good friends over the years, going to conventions together and meetings together. And so it's very much a very close knit community. The wholesaler network is, and these guys, are almost like brothers. And I've known them all my life, or most of my life.
Right.
And so to have them come forward and make an offer that we really couldn't refuse, Keith.
Okay.
There's a lot of consolidation in our business
Right.
over the years. There's, when I started in 1990, there were over 1,000 Anheuser-Busch wholesalers in the system. Today, there's under 400. I'm the smallest guy in the state of Louisiana, and it's just been the urge to merge has been an ever-present thing in our industry. And so we were given an offer that we really just couldn't refuse. But I'm delighted that it's these guys. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to know. I'm rambling here. It's important.
You're talking about what's important to you.
They're buying the facility,
right?
Not renting it. They're buying it.
It's going to be a purchase.
And absolutely. And so they told me, no, we plan on holding on to most everybody.
Wow.
There could be 1 or 2 maybe, but Houston deliveries are still going to come to Houma. Trucks are going to deliver to retail establishments from Houma. Right. Salesmen are going to operate from Highway 311. So operations continue, and these are good people. They take pride in their community. They take pride in their people, and I feel good about who's taking the keys.
Well, it's really interesting because you kind of mentioned how it was a family decision about starting.
Yeah.
And now, based on how well you've known and how closely y'all have been with that group, it's a family decision again.
Yeah.
For the Mockler family to come in.
No, absolutely. And it was a big decision for them.
Right.
These things don't happen every day. And so, but when they do, it's an involved process. We have over 70 suppliers, and we got to get approval from all these guys.
Right.
So, while we announced a purchase, we announced the signing of a purchase agreement. We have an agreement to sell. We haven't sold it yet.
That is correct.
So the closing will take place probably in another 60 to 90 days because I got to reach out to all these suppliers, inform them of the intent, and they have to approve it.
Right.
So that's a drawn-out process that takes
Right.
time.
Well, and quite frankly, you want it as seamless as possible. We want everybody that is supplying this home division of what is Buquet Distributing right now to continue whenever the Mockler family take over.
Absolutely.
Because that's how you maintain jobs.
Sure. Continuity, maintaining continuity. I've told my folks, I said, guys, we got to run through the tape. Run
Right.
all the way through
That's
the
right.
tape. We don't want our retailers to feel like we dropped any balls with them.
Right. So in the last minute or so with the show, tell me what it's like to have been connected to Buquet Distributors your whole life.
Yeah, it's, there's the financial, analytical side of me, and then there's, this is a very emotional thing. And
Sure.
so last night, the emotional side, I'd sort of compartmentalized that and put it on the shelf. And then after
Right.
the announcement, a lot of emails and phone calls began to flood in.
Sure.
And I went home and had a low cry last night. And
As a therapist, I can tell you that's a good thing, my friend. It really is.
had a cocktail or two.
Good
and,
for you.
Reminisced, but. Yeah, it is emotional. It's never easy to let go of something like this. It's a family legacy, and it can be hard to let go. But I feel confident, the emotions aside, that we're doing the right thing for the family. So these are very, very long-term decisions, and we just feel like, in the long term, and given the valuations that we had, it was the right thing to do at this point in time.
Speaking of the right thing to do, you need to know that you and your family in Buquet Distributing have done so much to give back to this community, and I've seen it in every area that I've tried to help and work with. Buquet has been there donating time, energy, effort, and supplies.
Appreciate that a lot, Keith.
That's a really big deal. So thank you for what y'all have done, and congratulations on the decision.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate
JJ.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot of local programming when we continue.